the new architecture of the world. We are at a pivot point in history. Never before have we had so many choices of good things and bad things at the same time. The last time this happened was kind of 1968, when the whole world changed after the Cuban Missile Crisis. And here we are, and we're looking at all these options that could bring us a great future, solving cancer, solving energy, solving space travel, or a really bad future. Authoritarian governments, loss of control over artificial intelligence, nuclear weapons being discussed again. So we have this diversion, right? I think we need to think about a reset of a different kind of future. As we are experiencing basically exponential scientific breakthroughs that are already here and imminent, not just artificial intelligence, but also quantum computing, nuclear fusion, right? Synthetic biology, genetics. I mean, in all reality, we can probably have unlimited energy in roughly 15 years. We can solve or prevent cancer in 20 years. I mean, that's mind-boggling when you think about it. Seems unlikely today, but that's already here. Those are all good things. But the power of technology also allows technology to be abused. Right? So now we have this big dilemma that's unfolding because the global world order is falling apart and geopolitical architecture is being reshuffled. The United States is no longer the dominant factor of the world by choice, right? By their choice, that is, right? And all of a sudden, we're in a world where many people are saying, yeah, maybe the USA is unreliable, unfriendly, and unpredictable. This is not me saying that. I lived there for 20 years, so I'm very familiar with this, right? But this is like European Commission officials, right? Heads of state, unreliable, unpredictable. So the result is also a good thing that we are becoming the United States of Europe. By force, by opportunity, right? It's basically happening at this very moment. United Defense, yeah, we have to spend more money on that. United Cybersecurity, United E-commerce, United Language, sooner or later. Okay, I thought that was going to make trouble, this statement about the language. It won't be Catalan, I'm sorry, but well, maybe it will be Spanish. I think Spain will have a big opportunity here. As Germany is declining in economic power at this moment, right, the power is moving south in Europe. Right? Spain could take a much bigger role in this equation about the future of Europe. And then, of course, we have this debate about the United Nations. The most powerful human organization ever built, now declining in importance. Lots of reasons for that, lots of ways to fix it, but tough mission. I remind of the statement from the former UN Secretary General, Mr. Hammarskjöld, who said, the United Nations was created in order not to bring us to heaven, but to prevent hell. It's a very good statement today, to prevent hell. If we could do that, that would be a good thing. A reboot, there's a new UN Secretary General coming in May. I hear it's going to be a woman. Right? That would already be a very good start. Right? So here we are. The old economic logic is proving unfit for the future. The old economic logic is capitalism in all its variety, but it's extreme in the sense of profit, growth, and power concentration. And we can observe that in many countries, as we're going and saying, okay, if we stay there, it's pretty much guaranteed to be a bad future because it's too close. It's too limited to actually realize what we really want. And there's also an inherent conflict between Europe and the United States on this very debate about what we really want. So here, I think we're unfolding a whole new paradigm around this saying from Charlie Munger, famous investor, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. Very old economic term. Show you the incentive. Here's a parody of the incentive. American incentive, corporate profit. European incentive, humanity. Of course, that's all like, cookie cutter, right? Chinese incentive, state control. cookie cutter, right? But if we put this all together, we have to say, well, what exactly is going to be our role here in Europe in the future? Can we find a combination? We're not against profits. We want to grow faster. We want to be quicker, more responsive. Clearly, we have to be. We've been lazy in many ways. You could say that, after having lived there for 20 years in the US. But clearly, the incentive, look at the incentive. NVIDIA, the biggest company that doesn't actually make artificial intelligence, it makes the chips, the shovels. Yeah? Market value last week of $5 trillion. Today, 4.6 trillion, goes up and down quite a bit. Right? NVIDIA is worth more than all of the pharmaceutical companies of the world. Okay, there's one company. And if it wasn't enough for NVIDIA, there's also 10 others who are right next to that. The world is determined by technology. It's the tech companies who tell us the future. And is their future honest? Well, they try, right? But if you have a choice of making 5 trillion or making 500 billion, what choices do you make? It's like Lula in Brazil making the choice to take the oil out. He's an environmentalist, right? Now he wants to take the oil out. I mean, these are practical choices, temptations, you couldn't call them. Very soon, OpenAI will go on the stock market. It will be the biggest stock market, the IPO, initial public offering, ever in the history of all stock markets. At least 1 trillion. Some people say the stock market valuation of OpenAI will be $3 trillion post-IPO. Like NVIDIA. And that is scary to us in Europe because we're so dependent on the American stock exchange. The Swiss National Bank, I live in Zurich, has 35% of their money in US tech stocks. And we're all like totally connected. We're actually dependent on the stock market to do well. And now, who has the power to shape our future? These are the companies investing in AI, all the tech companies, Microsoft, OpenAI, and so on. And this is their market valuation from like a few months ago. I'm sure it has changed, but. So we see where the power is going. And OpenAI is shaping up to be the most powerful company in the world. The youngest startup, the biggest startup, and you could say with incentives, lousy outcome. What is their incentive? To build general intelligence, not AI like IBM or SAP, right? Or Salesforce, but to build digital humans. They want to rebuild what we are. They want to build an AI that is smarter in all applicable sectors than humans. Like an AI with 100,000 PhDs called artificial general intelligence. If you want to read a book about this, you should read this book, the most popular book at this very moment, about general intelligence. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. It's a very good way to start a Monday, right? So buy the book and get a bottle of Carlos Primeros and start reading, right? So there's a lot of good things in this book, but lots of other things that I don't agree with. But okay, so if we look at this, that's not a good outlook. Here's the key question. Can we trust them? Sam looks like a nice chap, right? The guy from NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, he looks hip, very hip, leather jacket, right? Elon Musk, he talks well, he has robots. Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, the biggest investor, and a good old friend, Zuckerberg. Right? Can we trust these people? Well, shit, I've got to think about that, right? Well, who can we trust anyway? But I mean, who do we trust the least? Would you trust IBM with our future? I don't know. The Spanish government, probably more than these guys, right? But this is a very big question. What is their motivation? And they're not evil people. I met many of them. They're not evil people. They're not in the neighborhood of Mussolini. They are not evil. But what is the motivation? Here's the motivation of ChatGPT, OpenAI. It's very simple. They want ChatGPT to become the operating system for our lives. The quote from an executive from OpenAI. I mean, have I ever asked for an operating system for my life? Like, what is the operating system for our life? It's other people. Right? It's society. It's not a damn computer. That's like, okay, that's rather ambitious, but it's not new. Mark Zuckerberg says we're all going to spend more time in the metaverse than in the real world. I mean, these things would be great for them, but utter misery for us. So if that's the future they want to take us to, like this guy, right? Elon.
You know, people often talk about eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with the Optimus robot. With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care. People always talked about eliminating poverty, but actually Optimus will actually eliminate poverty. Optimus
will eliminate poverty, right? Probably also social injustice or, you know, poor people starving. All of that will be done by the robot, right? I mean, think about that for a second. What do we need to do to eliminate poverty, right? Make a robot? Right? Like, really? I mean, he lives in California, so God knows what he's smoking, right? But it goes to profit, growth, and power. This is their profit, their growth, right? And nicely dressed up. It will help us all to be healthy. Right? Maybe it will do that, but we need a bit more than that. We think about this graph should put the fear into you as the market is going up, S&P 500, the red line, employment is going down, has always been together, right? So stock market goes up, jobs go up. But now, because of AI, the stocks go up and the jobs go down. That's probably not true for all jobs, right? Dehumanization, taking the human out, is a feature of these companies. It's not a bug, a side effect. It's what they want to do. Replacing humans is the biggest business opportunity ever. There are even people working on birth machines. Can you imagine? Right? Exogenesis, so that women don't have to actually give birth. I mean, this is a real project. This is not Minority Report, right? So, looking at this chart, even worse, ChatGPT predicts its own change here. So basically 89% of fast food employers, 83% of customer service, material movers, long list of jobs that will be replaced when technology becomes generally intelligent. Not today, but 10 years. Most scientists say 2030 will be the time when we have a machine that's as smart as all humans. When that happens, our work economy collapses. It will take longer here and in Europe because we have more resistance. But clearly, where are we going with this? It puts fear into people. I've been doing this for 25 years. I never had much fear. I had always the opposite. Right? And now I'm looking at this and saying, God, you know, what if that happens? What happens? All the trends that are fearful are going up. Whether it's unemployment, misinformation, arms race. And then we have people who are masters of fear. Right? Breathing the fear into people. That's their job. A policy based on fear. I mean, we would never thought that we would actually see that again, right? But here we are, a policy based on fear. And now we're looking at the Manhattan Project for AI. Right? This is a serious proposal. Do you remember what happened with the Manhattan Project, the original one? Yeah, we had those two tiny things called nuclear bombs after the Manhattan Project. Do we want that again? And the tech companies are lining up to kiss the ring because they make money. If Apple didn't go to Washington, D.C. and kiss the ring of the dawn, they wouldn't be in business. It's like that, like a pizza parlor. And now we have these things where the AI Act, the European AI Act, is under fire because the Americans say, if you keep this up, we're going to increase the tariffs. I mean, what kind of democracy is this? Right? This is like a cow deal, you know, like a barter deal, like some sort of trade arrangement. Okay? So, bottom line on this is, will we ignore the side effects, the existential side effects of exponential progress? We did that really well with climate and fossil fuel. And this is what we got. 70 years of that. We knew that was happening, but we need the gas, the oil. Right? If we do the same with artificial intelligence, we end up in an arms race that only one entity can win, and that's the AI. Okay? If we don't find a way to harmonize what we are and what we want from this. So I propose to you today, we have to take back the future. Not necessarily against anyone, right? But to take charge of our future, starting here in Europe. Taking back the future based on these three revolutions: geopolitical, digital, sustainability, and towards a new paradigm that I call people, planet, purpose, and prosperity. I say new parenthesis because it's not really new, right? But it's, yeah, you can say a history, long history of this, that we've tried this, right? We need a new economic logic, a logic that will make us think about the future differently. First, the priority is no longer the economy, it's the planet. That is actually the same thing. But we just haven't realized it yet, that this is also an economic opportunity. That includes, of course, energy, transportation, all of those things towards a sustainable capitalism, first suggested by Al Gore, 500 years now, just 20 years ago. Right? Seems like a long time. And of course, the biggest change for us, that machines are going to do the routines. And we do everything else. So that becomes a huge social challenge and also an opportunity as we go here. With artificial intelligence, we need to focus on one thing, and that's the magic. If I can translate my videos on YouTube into Spanish and Portuguese at the flip of the button, that's magic. It's pretty bad Spanish, but okay, good start. Manic means Instagram, okay? I'm obsessed with making photos and sharing them, not actually eating the food, just sharing the food, right? That's called manic. What we don't want is toxic. Poison. Social media is such a great lesson. Initially, it was magic. Then it became manic, and now it's toxic. It's poison. Right? Every day you can spend without social media is another day won for humanity now. And the worst part is that if all this continues, democracy declines. Because we're not talking to each other anymore. Right? We're using the AI to send letters. If you want to get divorced, I have the AI draft a divorce letter and send to my wife. Right? I don't actually make it myself anymore. Democracy declining. Techno-optimism. This is a big thing in the US, right? It's increasingly dangerous. Because it says that for every problem, there is a scientific, technological answer. And that's just simply not true. A lot of things are practical problems that we can solve with technology. But everything else is a social, cultural, political, policy issues, a collaborative issue, not an autocratic issue. Right? So we have this initiative that we need to support. The AI Act, the Risk Act, the Red Line document, the statements, and so on. But here's the bottom line. In the next few months, we're seeing this emerge. This is the next film, right? The Human Resistance. You know this, of course, from Minority Report. Take it more of a day-to-day approach, right? A way of saying that we want this, but we don't want that. We don't have to be doomers to not like some things that AI does. We can find a middle path, like we have with all technology. A tool, not a god. Right? There's a vast difference. This resistance is super important as we're moving towards an internet that's basically now based on AI. If you're 20 years old today, you don't Google anymore. You use ChatGPT. And people don't write anymore. I mean, this newspaper, thankfully, still writes with people most of the time, right? But this 50% of the internet is already generated with AI. And now you have countries around the world, above all, Argentina, the chainsaw guy, Millet. Argentina, people say they are actually putting more trust into ChatGPT than in news. So they're asking ChatGPT about what is new and trusting it more than the official news outlet, to which I can only say, the wolf you feed is the wolf that wins. This is so important. Don't feed that wolf. Right? Don't give them money. Don't buy their stock. Boycott them as much as you can. Like I stopped using Twitter because of all that stuff that happened. Right? I never had a Tesla. Otherwise, I would have sold it. But we have to do something about this. So most importantly, as we're moving into a future where AI writes the newspaper and AI is on television with the anchor, right? That's called slop, right? AI slop, fast things. Here's the thing. Good enough sometimes works. If you're in a hurry, you don't care about the quality, good enough is fine. But good enough is not enough. Right? Good enough is like saying 95% of what I really want doesn't matter anymore because it's too complicated or too many humans involved, right? This is a huge cultural challenge for us. Good enough is not enough, and intelligence is not the same than consciousness. Intelligence is solving problems. Tech can do that. Consciousness is experiencing and feeling. That's a whole different cup of tea that we should not confuse. So as we go into this future with technology in the middle, we must separate the tools. And these are tools. They should stay tools. They should be competent, not conscious. Right? We need to do this, the telos, the wisdom, the purpose, the understanding, asking why. You know, technology today is so capable that in a couple of years, we can pretty much do anything. You want to upload your brain to the internet? Fine. You want to live to be 150? Fine. Right? All possible, becoming possible. But what do we really want? What is the question? Politics. The days of socialism, capitalism, communism, populism, or other isms is over. There's only one important question. Is your policy making a good future or a bad future? That is the question. That's why we have to move beyond the strategic thinking about what was important in the past. To create a future like this, we need to think about human alignment. We have to spend as much money on human alignment, human skills, than we spend on technological progress. Arts, education, policy, community, right? What I call the androrhythms, the human things. This is what our kids have to learn, what computers can't do. And how much money are we spending on this? We're cutting the money for all of these things and putting the money into tech stocks. The wolf we feed is the wolf that wins. So, the good future, el buen futuro, I had this made in Spanish just for you guys. Our moral responsibility is not to stop the future. We can't stop the future. We can't stop AI. We can't stop science, right? But to shape it. And to say we want this, but not this. We want the benefits, but not all the bad things. And that is possible. Don't believe for a minute that this is inevitable, as people like to say in Silicon Valley. Right? People are taking our jobs. That's inevitable. No, it's not. It's a choice that we make. The choices that we make in policy, in our daily lives, in everything that we're doing, that is the choice that we make. So I think our choice is to take back the future or have it stolen from us. Your choice. Thank you.